Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Francisco, also known as Paco. Got a lower third to show up what's going on. And we are on episode 4 of Photo Talk. So, this is your first time joining us on Photo Talk. This is your photography community show here on Adobe Live. What do we do here? Well, we show all cool things photography related. We show tips and tricks. We talk about the art of photography. We showcase photo submissions just like you. We'll get into that in a sec. That's a big thing in this show. Anybody that joins this photography show and edits with us or submits their photography, it's something that we want to see, something that we want to showcase. So that's what it's all about. Let me look at the chat over here. So we got Frank, we got Stian, Clever, Idara, Bliss, Oliver. We got Andres in the chat. What's up, Andres? So thanks everybody for joining us. Okay, cool. So who am I and why do I matter and why should you even care about what you're looking at? Well, I've been shooting professional photography, mainly landscape, for over a decade. I do a lot of backpacking. Usually in my spare time, you'll see me outdoors with a camera, whether I'm doing photography or video. But yeah, that is the stuff that I love to do. So let's have a look at what we're doing for our agenda, because we like to let everybody know, what are we doing today? So here's our agenda. As you saw the thumbnail, you got to make those clickbaity YouTube thumbnails. So we're going to show you how to edit photography on your smartphone. Smartphones are getting better and better these days. They have the option to shoot RAW. And what RAW does is it just allows you to have so much flexibility in post where you can really enhance the dynamic range of a photography. What's dynamic range, you may ask? Great question. It's all the information, the shadows and highlights. So cameras are getting fancier these days. You can get exposure for the brights and the darks all in one photo. Before, you used to have to stack it. That's a whole different thing that we're not going to worry about. But you could just do a lot of that stuff on mobile photography. So it's kind of crazy the type of photos you can get on a mobile phone. Of course, they're great for social. If you're blowing them up, then you're going to need a fancy camera. At the end of the day, you can't fit a really big sensor that comes on a pro full frame camera and a mobile smartphone, but who knows? Who knows what will be in about a decade from now. We'll get into live photo remixing. So that's one of the things that we've discovered on the show that we love to do is I share a photo, you take your creative take on that photo, post it, and then we'll review it live. We'll do a submission showcase. So last time we were live on Photo Talk, we asked for you to submit your own photos to kind of showcase on this live show. So we'll show some of those. We had some very cool submissions. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll talk about some Gen AI and hyperlapses. So I'll give you a little bit of a sneak peek on what I mean by that. So let's see. Let's go to my desktop. All right. Okay, so check it out. Here is a very awesome photo that I took. Very pretty. In the Sierra Nevada, that's where I spend most of my time. Great colors. What you can do these days is turn it into a video. Check that out. So that is a moving hyperlapse, folks. How did that happen? Stick around, we'll show you. Here's another take on it. All right, this time it's looking up, cinematic. Oh my goodness, the sunset on those mountains, so accurate, so cool. We'll show you how to do that. It's very, very easy. And if you have an Adobe subscription, you can do it. And then if we have even more time, we have lots of cool stuff here that we plan on doing. If we have even more time, we'll show you how to do something like this with the help of Adobe Firefly, which is our generative AI tool. I'll kind of walk you through on how to do that. So fun stuff coming. Let's dive right into it. Okay, so what was the first thing that we wanted to do? This agenda kind of keeps me on track. Oh yeah, so about the photo remixes. If you don't have a photo, here is a link to one that you can remix. It is one that we showed on the last show. So in case you're new to photography and you don't have a photo that you want to take or submit, you could just use one of my photos and remix it. So let me tell you what remixing is all about. So let me go to Lightroom. So here I am on Lightroom. So again, there's different versions of Lightroom. This is Lightroom on desktop. There's Lightroom Classic, but we are on Lightroom, and this feature is only available on Lightroom on desktop. So if you go to Community, you have the chance to look at people's work, and you have a chance to look at the remixes. So here's some daily inspiration just based on what Lightroom has seen, the things I browse. Here's some featured photos. So you can see, let's see, who is it? It is Pronicias. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Did this photo. and then you can see their entire workflow on how they edited this photo. So this is a very, very cool community feature in Lightroom. So they show you step by step on how they achieved that look. So there's no gatekeeping here. It literally shows you how we achieved this edit, right? And what this artist did is they allowed for remixing. So what does remixing mean? It means that anybody can access this photo, and within the Lightroom app, this is protected, or this is obviously the owner, it's the copyright owner. You can't download it. You can just do it all in the Lightroom app because we don't want people taking this photography and using it somewhere else. So it's only available in Lightroom, but people can take their own creative remixes on this photo. So this is how it started, and then this is how it ended. So then here are all the different remixes that someone has done. So now this is remixed by Jorge. Okay, so this was their take on it. So again, art is subjective. There is no right or wrong way to edit it. How one person might edit a photo might be different from another person. Not one of them is right or wrong. You know, there are different guidelines based on if it's going to print, you want it to look natural. You know, that's a whole different can of worms. But in terms of just growing and learning, I always like to say we're forever students. I'm a forever student. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know everything about photography because I am way beyond that. But it's all a learning process. So I think this is a very cool way to learn what other people do with photography and the creative eye that they see with a certain photo. So as you can see, this is a very different take on this photo, right? This is another one, the cropping. You know, if you crop into this photo, you turn it into a whole different composition. You know, here's vignetting. This one looks very cool too. I like this one, right? So that's the cool thing about remixing. And that's one of the things I encourage on the show. Is to submit your own photo and allow for remixes so that you can see how other people might interpret your photo, or just take one of my photos and remix it and share it here on Photo Talk. So let's go back to our slide here. Here is a link. So mods, if you want to make this a clickable link, here is a photo that you can remix that I took. So let's go to my profile, right? And here's the photo, right? So we showed this on the last episode we were on, and we've had a ton of people remix it. So I'll go over these in a sec because we do have some new people here that we didn't show over the last time. So again, if you're new to Photo Talk, this is a safe space. There is no, we're not showcasing pros or amateurs. We're showcasing everybody. So if you're new to photography, please feel free to take this photo just to kind of a starting point and remix it just so you can get your feet wet with editing photo. Or if you have your own photo, feel free to submit it. So in the description of this video, I have a link on how to submit your own Lightroom specific link of your remix, and then share it with us, and then we can share it on Photo Talk for the next episode. So that's something that I really want to do with the show, is just highlight our community. Right? There's no gatekeeping. I'm hoping that it's not always my photos that I'm showing. I want to showcase your photos too. Okay, let me show you something cool that actually happened between the time that I was doing some remixes up until now. So when we first started, I did 3 photos. The chat actually voted on this photo to remix and share, but the other one that I shared that wasn't chosen, this one, it actually kind of blew up. So as you can see, it's got about 850 likes, and it's got over 100 remixes. And it was actually featured on the Lightroom community page on February 4th, 2025. I had no idea that this happened. I was just looking at my community post and I was like, oh, wow, this one has a lot of likes. So again, I just did this just to share with the community, but it kind of gained a lot of traction. And it ended up being featured on this page right here. So in this badge one, I guess my photo was featured there on February 4th. So that was really cool to see. Very, very cool. Okay, so let's get into it. So there is a link. So let's go back to, let's see, right here. So there's a link for a photo. If you want to remix it, let me know in the chat. So I'm looking at Behance and YouTube. So if you went ahead and took this link, did some remixes on Lightroom and submitted it, let me know in the chat, and then we'll try and find some time before the show ends to show your edits, because that's what I like to do. I like to showcase people's edits, especially while we're live. All right, so that's a very fun thing to do. And again, if you, let's see, let's go to the show real quick. So if you don't want to take one of my edits and you just want to submit your own, here is a link. So this is going to take you to a submission form, and it tells you, it walks you through on what to do. So you make your edits, you share to the community, make sure to allow remixing so that other people in the community can take their take on it. And then this is the link I want, right? So once you get that link that's generated, just submit it here. let us know who you are so we can let you know if we're going to feature it. And then we'll showcase it on the next time we're live. Okay. So one more thing I do want to shout out is that we have a Discord channel. Shout out to our very own Ryan Selvey for maintaining this and keeping it on track. It's a very, very fun Discord channel. Let me go to it. Here we go. Okay, so here is the Adobe Live server. There, the bit.ly that I showed is going to show you how to join it, and it has all the shows that we have currently live on Adobe Live. So here we are on Photo Talk. So I've been here interacting with some of our friends that like to continue the conversation after the show, but we have all the different shows that we have. So we have Draw Your Life, we have File New, we have Making Decisions. So Jess has this thing going on where this is her pug, it's her mascot for Making Decisions, and then Ryan made a template for it. So we've been having fun here. So very meme-worthy content, right? It's a pug template. And then all cosmic beings, someone put it on Severin. So good time. So anyways, just make sure to join that Discord channel if you want to continue the conversation. If you have any questions for the people that are live on Adobe Live, this is a good place to ask them and we'll try and interact with you. Okay. All right. So let me check one thing here real quick. Let's see. Let me exit that. And then we will go back to our screen share. Okay, so what are we doing today? We are going to do pro edits on mobile. So that is what's next, folks. So I'm going to switch to my mobile phone, and I want to show you the cool things that you can do with raw photography on Lightroom. So let me plug in my phone. I'm going to get a feed here in a sec, and then I will switch. Okay, and then let's go to our Lightroom app. Here we go. Excellent. Okay. So let me switch over here. Great. So here I am on Lightroom and I have a bunch of photos that were shot on RAW. What is RAW, you may ask? It is a thing that some of the higher end phones are doing. This is an iPhone 15 Pro. Yeah, just Pro. It's not the Max. But one of the cool things that it can do is if I go to camera, if you see on the top right, you see how it says RAW 12. This allows me to shoot a photo that is shot in the RAW format. So there's different versions. There's RAW 12. Those, I think you can go up to 48 megapixels, which I think is a little overkill, especially if it's going on social. But this is what I enable when I want to shoot a photo that's RAW so that I can have more flexibility when I edit it in post. So if you don't have this enabled, it's just going to shoot in JPEG, or it might be the HEIC format, which is the new Apple one. Essentially what's happening is when you don't have that enabled, when you take a photo, the iPhone is just going to apply color presets onto your photo, and it's going to look good out of the phone. That's all you want to do. But when we start working with professional photography, you want to shoot RAW because you have more flexibility in post to edit it the way that you interpret it. So let me go to Lightroom. Okay, so there's different file extensions when you shoot RAW. It just depends on the camera. If you have a Canon camera and you shoot RAW, then you're going to get a file called .cr2. Nikon, I believe, is NEF, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. The iPhone will shoot something called DNG. So I know these photos that I've shot on RAW are DNG because I can click the info and it'll let me know. So this was an iPhone 15 Pro and it was shot RAW and it's a DNG. Right over here, I can see that it's a DNG file. So that's good. So what that means is this is a photo that has a lot of information and I can essentially edit it to really make it look awesome. So let's do that with this photo. This photo is, our photo mascot, Ansel. So it is the dog that is my fluffy buddy, and it was snowing in Tahoe a couple weeks ago, and I took this photo because he was just happy. So out of the bat, obviously this photo is really dark, but that's what you do when you shoot RAW is you kind of want to expose for the highlights so you don't blow them out. But that way we have the information to bring it back. So let's go ahead and do that. So I am in Lightroom. What I'm going to do first is I am going to increase the shadows. There is our fluffy buddy coming to life. We'll decrease the highlights, okay, because we don't want it blown out. We got more friends coming in. We got Bree, we got Megra, we got Blizzard. Great. So again, I'm looking at the chat. If y'all have any questions, if you want to interact with us, let me know. I am looking on the chat. So this is a two-way engagement. Otherwise, you'd be watching a how-to video. So any questions, anything, please feel free to the chat. I'm looking at that. Okay, cool. So here is our photo. We're bringing it to life. Okay. With the color, I want to bring it up. It's, it's a very gray day. So we'll bring some color. There's vibrance and saturation. Vibrance kind of helps if you have people in a photo. Vibrance isn't going to target skin tones, because if you add color to skin tones, they start to look unnatural. So vibrance kind of adds and targets areas that don't need as much saturation. So let's say sky. Skies can be very blue. If you just put the saturation slider all the way to the right in a photo, it's really gonna make that sky a little too blue, but vibrance isn't gonna do that. So I usually tend to add color just using vibrance, okay? Okay, this photo looks a little crooked. So a cool thing on Lightroom Mobile, right here in the bottom right, we have this new fix angle option. So I'm gonna click that and it fixed the angle. Sweet. Okay, and then let's continue editing. So don't wanna get into presets just yet. But I do want to continue editing our fluffy buddy. Let's see. I want to get into masking. So if you watched the show before, you know that I love masking. And masking, I think, brings a photo to life. It's where we put targeted adjustment layers, and it can really make a photo pop. I know us designers and photographers hate that word, but for lack of a better word, that's exactly what it's doing. So cool thing we can do here on Lightroom is select a subject. So I'm going to tap that. It's going to detect our subject. It knows that Ansel, the star of this photo, is the subject. So that's awesome. Now I can make adjustments just on that and not the rest of the photo. So I actually want to make them a little brighter. So I'm going to increase the shadows. We'll increase the exposure. I don't want to do the exposure too much because then it starts to look unnatural. In the way that I like to photo edit, I think less is more. So making little adjustments, fine-tuning your adjustments. It's not going to seem like much when you're making one or two adjustments, but when you add all those adjustments together, they make the entire photo. So again, we're just going to be subtle here because we don't want to make it look too unnatural, but we do want to make our fluffy buddy pop, as we like to say. Okay, we'll do that. Let me add another mask. I really like radial gradients. They're just kind of circle targeted adjustments. Right here on the bottom left, we can slide this out, and then we can decide where these adjustments are taking place. So the feather is going to blend it in. We don't want to put the feather all the way to the right, because then, as you can see, it's a very sharp, hard edge, and it's going to be a pretty noticeable edit. So I do like to turn the feathering up, and we're going to just increase the light here just to kind of make, again, Ansel come out of the photo a little more. Okay, and then what I like to do is when I add a radial gradient, I do like to duplicate it. So let's bring this back out. Okay, so if I hold this, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to duplicate and invert the mask. So it added another mask, but this time we're going to essentially add a vignette, but just kind of make it a custom vignette. So that way we can really decide where the targeted adjustments are. So I'm adding attention to Ansel in the middle, but then I'm taking away light from everywhere else. That's why I duplicated it and I inverted the mask. So instead of Ansel being where the adjustments are being made, the rest of the photo is going to be attached to it. Okay, so then I'll go to the light, then I'll bring down, oh, whoops, I don't want contrast. I want the exposure down a little bit. Okay, cool. All right, and then what I want to do is where I think a lot of these photos come to life is by adding presets. So if I come down here, there's presets. I've kind of gone ahead and just added my own presets in the past, just ones that I tend to gravitate to. These are all the default ones in the app. So there's many different types of presets you can get. You can download them from the community. These are just the ones that come in the Lightroom app. And I tend to like FT11. So what's cool about this presets is you can fine tune them even more. So right now it's applied at 100%. That could be a little extreme, or that could be just right. So I'm going to bring it down a little bit just because I think at 100%, it's making it almost a little too overexposed where it's clipping the whites. But I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Okay. And now this photo is really coming to life with that preset. I think it did a lot. So now that I have the preset, I might just adjust these gradients just a little more. So let me go to the light. Let's see. Let's actually bring up Ansel a little more. Okay. We'll do that. And then let's see. Yeah, we increase the shadows there. And then I really want to make this vignette as subtle as I can, but I do want to decrease that light. So we'll bring it down. Cool. All right, so this photo is looking pretty good. I mean, I can go on and on, but the general gist is right there. So, you know, people always ask me, they're like, when do you finish editing photos? Honestly, when you decide that it's done. As editors, as video editors, you can just go on and on with a project. At some point, you just got to say, hey, this photo looks good to me. We're done. And I agree. I think this photo actually looks really great. And we can see the before and after. So if I click over here, we can go to versions. Let's see. And this is the original. So this is where we started. Check this out, folks. And then this is where we ended. Okay. And we were able to adjust a lot of the light, a lot of the colors without the photo starting to look a little blurry or looking like the colors breaking down because we shot in RAW. Okay. So that's the beautiful thing about shooting RAW. What's the downside of shooting RAW, you may ask? It does take more space than JPEG. So it's all about storage efficiency versus flexibility in post. So I don't recommend that you shoot all your photography in RAW, but I do recommend that if you're out and you see an amazing shot, it's a great sunset or the light is just perfect, go ahead and go to your camera settings and just have this enabled, right? So look at your smartphone. Some of the higher end models do, some don't. But if your phone can shoot RAW, it's probably going to shoot in the DNG format. Just make sure you have it. So I have it as a quick action where I enable it and I disable it. So when I'm out and I see an opportunity and I don't have my fancy camera with me, I just shoot RAW and then we're able to get an amazing photo. So it looks pretty cool. So we see I got Franco, I got Bree. Yeah. Okay. So this is looking awesome. Very good stuff. Okay. All right. Now I want to show you. So I edited this photo in Lightroom where we have tons of flexibility. Now the iPhone does have, let's go here. The iPhone does have a photo editing option, and you can see right up here on the top left, it says RAW, but there's not a lot of custom presets as if you were to edit this in the Lightroom apps. And I'll show you what I mean. So we'll kind of emulate what I did again. So I'll turn down the highlights. Let's see. I'll bust up the shadows. And again, I am able to edit this within the iPhone photo editing app, and it can look great. But I think the presets in Lightroom really kind of give it that pro look. And then, we'll try and just do a quick edit and show you kind of difference that you can get with both editors. So I'll increase the vibrance. It does have different filters. So I think this one might kind of match the one we were going for. Sort of vivid. Okay. Turn it up. Yep, that looks good. We'll go back to adjust. We can add, let's see, one of those vignettes. Or no, sorry, we want to go the opposite way. There we go. And then maybe increase the brightness a little bit, right? And then Brilliance just kind of, again, tries to make it pop. And then we'll increase the exposure a little bit. So that was a speed edit. And again, I was able to do this because it's RAW, but let's compare these two photos. So here's this one. I'll just take a screenshot. We'll go back to Lightroom. And then here's the Lightroom one. Okay. And let me just go to my recent photos. Okay, so this was on just the iPhone app editor, and this is in Lightroom, right? So you just have so much color there and just so much more freedom to do. So again, if you got Lightroom and you already have an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription, just try editing your photos here in the Lightroom app. There's so much you can do. I mean, we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg here. So, oh no, I don't want to reject you, and so we will add that to a liked photo. Okay. So again, the power of RAW, do not sleep on it. It is amazing. It's pretty cool. All right. We are flying through time here, folks. We got about a little over half an hour left. So let's edit one more photo on our iPhone. So over the weekend, we had a pretty cool sunset here in Tahoe. This was shot in RAW. Again, I saw that the colors were popping off. I didn't want to shoot in JPEG. I wanted flexibility to do in post. So I said, hey, let's go ahead and shoot this in RAW so we can edit it later. So let's do a speed edit here. This, again, is a RAW file that I shot on my iPhone. Same thing. I'll decrease the highlights. We'll bring up the shadows. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay. Let's see. Color. I'm going to go ahead and bring that vibrance up. Really make those colors stand out. Okay. And then let's go to masking. Again, as you know, masking, I think, is where a lot of the magic can happen. So we have one touch targeted areas right there. I hit select sky. Let me show you a cool hack. I have the sky selected. What if I want to do the foreground? There is not a select foreground option, but there is an option to duplicate and invert the mask. And look at that. So that's really cool. When you see it turn red, that means that's what it's targeting. So now I essentially have a mask that's targeting the sky, and I have a mask that's targeting the foreground. So with the foreground, I do want to bring a little bit more light to it. So we're going to bring up the shadows. When you do bring up the shadows, you lose a little bit of contrast. So we'll introduce a little bit more contrast there, right? Okay. And then let's look at our sky here. I do like to do, so we were talking about vibrance earlier here. I just want the whole thing to look pretty cool. So I'm just going to do global saturation. It's just adding color to all of that. Okay. All right. And what's the focus here? When you look at photography, what's our focus? I think kind of right here in the bottom where we have some light leading up to the sky here. So let's make some masks and direct our viewers' eyes to that area. Right. So I'll go ahead and invert this mask. Oh, sorry. Invert is right here. Where is it? There we go. Right here. So that's the mask. Here on the bottom left, there's an invert option. There it is. And then I just want to add, I want to take away some light so that our eyes are kind of going towards that foreground. Okay. So that's looking good. And now let's add more light to that other part of the mask. So I'll duplicate and invert that mask, and now we have a new gradient. Let's move this out of the way. This time, I really want to add some light here. Okay, so we'll go to light. I'll increase the exposure. There it is. Increase the shadows a little bit. Light tends to be warm, so we can go to the colors and just introduce a little warmth right there to make it seem a little bit natural. All right, that's looking good. Okay. And again, I can go on and on about this, but right there, I like what it's doing. I might add a preset. So we have tons of presets here. Some of these presets are kind of blowing out the sky. So that might not be what I'm going for, but there might be a look that I want that's kind of a little more natural. Here, I kind of want a warm one, so that's a little too much. But again, it's all subjective. Some people like that faded film look. So we can kind of go for something like that. But let's see. We'll do one of these, but we'll bring it down just so it's not affecting a ton of it. So I tend to like FT11 quite a bit. So let me bring that down. Okay, there we go. Cool. And then one thing I didn't do is I didn't add a curve. Let's see, let's go to our edits light. Yeah, okay. If you know me, you know that I love to mess with curves. I'm going to introduce a little contrast here. So we'll bring up the highlights, kind of bring down the darks. And this is kind of artificially adding a little more color to it. There we go. That's looking good, folks. I don't want to bring up the top right of the graph too much because it's going to affect the sky that I think is already getting blown out a little bit. But there we go. So again, this is pretty cool. This already looks like it was edited professionally. So if I kind of go to a before and after, we'll go to versions. There's the original. There's the after. We added more color. We introduced more light where we want to go. Kind of a speed edit. I think I would do a little more with working with that light so it's not blown out, but you get the idea. Okay. All right. Excellent. So I do want to look over some photo submissions. So let me go back there. Time flies when you're live, folks. I always say live streaming operates in a different dimension. There is not enough time when you need it and way too much when you don't. So we got to keep ourselves on track here. All right, so let's look at some submissions here. Let me go back to my, I got to change sources here. All right, let's look at some submissions that our lovely chats, or lovely folks that tuned in last time went ahead and submitted. Okay, so here we are. Let's see. We had 4 people that I wanted to shout out that submitted these photos. Again, I think as we're getting photo talk and we're encouraging people to submit their live photos. It'll be a slower traction, but I think we'll ramp up. And again, I want to emphasize that if you're just starting out with photography and you just kind of want some feedback or you want to show the world, feel free to submit. Again, this is Photo Talk. We're showcasing all sorts of skill levels. You don't have to be a pro photographer to participate. We just want you to be a part of the community and join our conversation. So first up, we got Raul. Let's see what he did. Let's see. Okay, so what he actually did is he took the photo that I did of the Sierra Nevada and then he added his own take to it. So this was his remix of my photo. So you can see I kind of went on the brighter side, but he went a little bit darker, a little contrastier, a little moodier. And I like how this looks. So we can see what he did. He did adaptive color, did color calibration, clarity, vignette. He did some masking. So masking can do a lot. Sometimes you don't need a lot of masking, right? So this in itself did a ton with just the masking that he added right here. So again, sometimes less is more and you don't need a ton of editing. And that's exactly what Raul demonstrated. So Raul, thank you for showing, my friend. I think this is a great take on it. Okay. All right, let's see what else. We'll go back here. Let's see, Brittany. All right, so Brittany did this photo. Let's see where it started. So it looks like this was a photo at a concert. The colors came out great. Brittany, let us know in the chat if this is just a very serendipitous shot where you shot it and it gave this natural color gradient, or if you added this before you edit it. Because I think, you know, just by itself right now, this is a great photo. This looks great. Okay, so we decreased the exposure. We added contrast. See highlights, shadows, whites. We increased the temperature. All right, we added some tint, added some vibrance. Vibrance makes sense because there's a lot of color in this photo, so very cool. Then you started messing with the reds, the color mixer. Okay. Let's see. We added some texture. We added some clarity. We added some dehaze and some sharpening. Okay. So great photo, Brittany. If you want, I'll give you some unsolicited feedback. So right here, and I think this is because you shot JPEG. Again, when you shoot JPEG, this is what I was talking about. When you start to manipulate the photo a little too much, the colors start to get clipped. So you can kind of see that right here when you started changing with the hue and saturation of the red. The reds are starting to get clipped, and that's why there's this kind of this harsh, like the colors aren't blending as well, just because they're being slid a little too much to the vibrant side, and you can kind of start to see that here, right? And that happened also here, and then when you started messing with the colors, and again, this is all subjective. So if this is what you wanted to go for and really punch those colors, amazing, you achieved your look. But from somebody, like kind of from an outsider that's looking at the colors now to me are just starting to look a little, they're starting to take over the photo a little too much. And that, again, if you wanted to bring the colors in and that was your goal, amazing job. But, you know, I think we got to decide, like, what's the focal point in this photo? Is it the colors? Is it the band? Is it the whole thing? Again, no right or wrong answers. There's just a bunch of ways to do this. But we added the clarity and the dehaze. So what the dehaze does is it just gives you contrast on steroids. It is great at killing dehaze if you have, let's say, a foggy picture. What it's doing is it's just adding a ton of contrast, which is killing that non-contrasty look, which is essentially what haze is. So by adding a little too much dehaze, so dehaze at 100% is a lot of dehaze. Dehaze can go a long way. I like to be subtle with it. But as you can see, it actually kind of started killing some of the colors on there just because it's going more towards the blacks. And when you add contrast, you're making the darks darker and the brights brighter. So yeah, this got very contrasty towards the end here. And again, that's your look. Amazing. You know, I think with these photos, sometimes, you know, there's already a lot of colors, so we don't need to punch them up a lot. So I think somewhere, something around there is like this, like right over here. This, I think, is a great photo because it looks natural, great color. The colors are blending together great. And I just think when there was too much color being added, then you can see these harsh lines. And again, because you shot JPEG. So sometimes when you shoot JPEG, you just don't have that information. So Brittany, next time you go out, try shooting in RAW if your phone can do it, or if you have a camera, just shoot RAW, and then you're going to see how much flexibility you have in a photo like this. But great edit. I love this. This is a very, very amazing, natural, beautiful shot that shows amazing colors. And, you know, you can't really see the people here in the background as the concert because that's not really the focal point, right? It's the lights and the show itself. And I think you did a great job in capturing that. So hats off to Brittany. Very, very cool stuff. All right, so let's see who else we got. So we got Piotr. I feel like I always don't pronounce your name right, but this is construction. So what do you say? It says, during my visit to Paris, I wanted to take an unusual photo of the tower. The Eiffel Tower is amazing. Okay, so let's see. This is how the photo started, and I think you shot in an NEF. So I think this was shot raw because NEF is a raw format of Nikon. So we turned it into black and white. Okay, we were changing around with some colors on gray mixing. Some color grading, calibration, texture, vignette, grain. We removed chromatic aberration and enabled. Okay, this looks very great. Piotr, great job. One of the things, when you change a photo into black and white, when you start to mess with the HSL slider, so the hue, saturation, luminance, as you can see, they're not going to do much because the photo doesn't essentially have color. It's all black and white. So even though you were messing with these, it might change I'd say the luminance, because black and white doesn't have any color. So it might change the luminance of certain shades of black and gray, but they're not really going to do much because we're messing with black and white. So one of the things you can do with black and white photos to really kind of change the color is either messing with the whites and black sliders or messing with the point curve, because that's really going to focus on the photo. So this is a great shot, Piotr. One of the things that I'd encourage you to look at, oh yeah, so Ash shot NEF, this is a raw file. Okay, that's good to know. One of the things we want to look at when we look at this photography is what's the subject of it, right? What's the focal point? I would say this person is, right? So we have a beautiful architectural lines that are kind of leading your eyes everywhere, and they kind of naturally look at this person here. So I think you did a great job in kind of showing that this person is a subject. But one thing we can do to really emphasize that is maybe take away light and add light here. So if I kind of remix it, I'll show you what I mean. So let's see, got it. So let's just kind of make it black and white. Let's see. Let's kind of get where we were, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I just kind of add some masks here, so we'll do a radial gradient. I really want this person to be the focal point of it. We can increase the exposure. We can increase the shadows. Right? And it doesn't look like much, but I'm going to do that trick that I showed you where we'll duplicate and invert the mask. Okay, so now I have this giant mask that's affecting the rest of the photo. Okay, here it is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ever so slightly start taking away some of that light. Okay, there we go. And now you can see just by default, this person is become the focal point of this photograph, right? So we have all this amazing architecture and everything that's going on, but our eye is now naturally going to this person that is this human, organic, sentient thing against this non-living structure. And I think this is a beautiful photograph that can take that can give that story, right? Is you have this person ascending this man-made thing that isn't living, but this is the only thing that is living. So let's shine light onto that, right? And there's tons of stuff we can do here, right? But for the purposes of demonstration, I just wanted to show you that that's something we can do, because now that is the focal point of the photograph, and we're very much demonstrating that just with two masks. So very, very cool. Okay, so let's move on. Checking out all our photography submissions here. And then we have Andres. So Andres is, in fact, my brother. I do have a twin brother. And he submitted some photographs that we're going to show. So I'm not seeing them. Let me switch away real quick. Let's see. We'll go over here. And then I do believe I have a link that will take us to that. So while I pull that up, let me know in the chat. How y'all doing? Did you edit one of the photos that we showed at the beginning? Did you remix it? If so, let me know. We can try and look at it before the show ends. Do you like this photo style where we're looking at it and highlighting people? Do you like the feedback? I think feedback, again, we're forever students. So let me know if you like the feedback, you're enjoying it. If not, you rather just showcase it. All good. Okay, cool. So I am bringing up this next photo. We'll go over here. Let's see. I'm not sure why it's not loading. What's going on here? Oh, Lightroom. Oh, I see. I'm in the middle of a remix. That's why it's not doing it. Okay. Here we go. Launch in Lightroom. There it is. Okay. So my brother shot this in RAW. So I know this was a phone because we have the same phone. And this is a DNG file. So that's how we know it was shot RAW on a phone. And here it is. All right. So very beautiful. I think it's probably morning or sunset. I know he does crazy bike rides in the morning. So this might be a morning shot. But let's see what he does. So there's a lot that went on here. So at first, this is the DNG. We cropped it. Okay. We added a profile to it, increased the exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, mess with the point curve. So these are individual curves. So just how you can control the light in a point curve, you can also control the lights and shadows of a color. So this is some advanced stuff here. The tint, the vibrance, the saturation, mess a lot with the color mixers. He's kind of bringing to life some of the colors here, adding a warm tone to it. So it's looking pretty cool. The color mixer right here brought the city back to life. It's kind of crazy. You know, usually you wouldn't target this with light, but just kind of looks like increasing the blues just kind of brought that city a little bit back more to life so it wasn't so washed out. That's pretty cool. Let's see the texture, the clarity, the dehaze. So this is dehaze right here actually did a lot. It kind of brought the photo down instead of being so bright, and then started to introduce more information kind of into the highlights and shadows. Okay. Let's see. My cursor. Okay, so what's happening right now is I have my laptop and then I have my iMac where I run this live stream. And somehow these are connected. It's like this handoff thing that Apple does, and my cursor got lost in a machine totally separate from this machine. That kind of threw me off. Anyways, I got it back. All right, so we had a vignette, sharpening, color noise, masking. Again, I think masking can go a long way. Decrease the light on the Golden Gate Bridge, and then did a mask on the sky that brought a lot to it. So here's the after, here's the before. Tons and tons of work done on it, but we're highlighting the focal point, which is this bridge, this juxtaposition of color against this foreground and background. So there's a lot going on here, and this is good. Usually when you have a photo, you want to look at your foreground, your middle ground, and your background, and I think this all complements each other very well. You have some leading lines of these hills going towards this big prominent subject, and then it's complemented by the background of the sky. So very, very cool stuff. Yeah, this is a great edit. Let's see. Love it, Brittany. Love the feedback, Paco. Cool. Which city is that? Yeah, Ryan. Nice joke, my friend. I know you're flying there as much as I am these days. So I'm gonna start coming down though. Oh, so it looks like Piotr is chiming in on his edit. So, so you took this photo and then you had to wait before someone would start coming down. So you planned the photo. Amazing, my friend. I love it. So you actually went out there and got that photo and purposely went out for it. So that came out great. Excellent job. Okay, we got about 15 minutes. So I want to show you all a very cool thing. Let's see what's going on here. I got to change this. I want to show you kind of how we did that time lapse real quick. And we're probably not going to have enough time to do all of it, but we are going to get the gist of it. So I'm going to open up After Effects and I'll show you kind of what's happening here. So we'll get rid of this, go back to After Effects. Okay. Let's see. I actually got rid of the composition. Let's see. Where did my composition go? I think if maybe I just go, there we go. Okay. We'll just do one of these standard panels. I'll do Paco Essentials. Okay. So what's happening here is we have a hyperlapse. So what is a hyperlapse? Let's start from scratch. So if we go to the Palace of Fine Arts, here is a hyperlapse. What a hyperlapse is you're essentially just looking at a focal point and then just trying to shoot all the way around so you can go into post-production, After Effects, add warp stabilizer, and it looks really cool. So these are the shots that I took. I look like a crazy person just standing in a scene for 3 hours, taking one shot, I'm literally taking one step to the right. And I'm out there for 3 hours trying to focus and be as steady as I can, focusing on the Palace of Fine Arts. So I essentially got this sequence of photos all the way around the Palace of Fine Arts, which again took me like 3 hours. It looks insane if you see it in real person, what that person is doing. But I'll show you really quickly what the idea is. So what's cool about After Effects is we can import a JPEG sequence. So I shot it all raw. I made the edits in Lightroom, and I exported the sequence in JPEG just so we don't have crazy big files to work with. But we're going to go ahead and open them up, and then we'll add it to a composition. And then this is essentially what we have. So very jittery, very like, how is this usable? Well, this is where the magic of warp stabilizer will come into effect. So let me go ahead and we'll scale this down so it fits. Actually, before we do that, I do want to change this into 1920 by 1080. So let me just change the composition window. I hit Command K for anybody who may not know After Effects, and it's just your standard 16 by 9. And then I will just kind of reframe this. So we don't have a crazy like 4K window that we're working with. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, oh my goodness, my cursor disappeared again, folks. All right. So we're going to add a warp stabilizer, and I'll just go to advanced and hit detailed analysis. So it is going to do its thing. As you can see here, it's going to initialize and apply that effect. So I'm going to wait for it to try and do its thing. It's not working with us. The cool thing about these live streams is we're planning ahead so that we don't have to sit here and wait for something that, yeah, okay, there we go. It's rendering. Okay. So it's going to render about 199 frames. Seems to be working, about 15 seconds. So we'll let it do its thing. All right. So, yep, phenomenal shot. Andres is highlighting our friend who submitted. Yeah, that's a great shot. Great composition. I think everybody did a great shot. So Brittany, Raul, Andres. Yeah, everybody, thank you for submitting. So again, this photo talk for the next episode, you have the description, the link if you want to share some photos. So go ahead and do that. We'll have a look at them, and then we'll have another segment where we'll showcase our community photography. Okay. All right. So we added the warp stabilizer, and let's check it out. So now it looks less jittery. Right? It's a little wobbly, right? I think if there was more time, I would probably cut some frames just to try and make it look a little more smooth. But for the sake of time, we got a Hall Booty over here. Another cool trick you can do is you can go to pre-compose. I'm going to move all attributes into a new composition, and then I'm going to add another warp stabilizer to it. So we'll go to advanced, we'll give it another detailed analysis, and now we're just stacking warp stabilizers. Okay, so what essentially we're doing is we're adding another one so that it looks even better. All right, so let's have a look at this again. Stabilizing. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Again, we saw the before and the after. It was super jittery mess, headache inducing. But because we were able to add a warp stabilizer again, it's looking pretty good. So that's a hyperlapse. This alone by itself is awesome. I've posted this before. It's just a very cool effect to do with photography. It's kind of this like matrixy, fast time travel thing around it. But what we can do is we can add some cool visual enhancements using Firefly. So in order to do that, I'll walk you through it. And the goal is to kind of recreate, let's see, what I did here. So we have this, and then it jumps into this awesome collage of just AI artwork, right? So what we do is we just need to take a snippet of this. We don't need to do the whole sequence. So you can do Command-Shift-D, and it's going to cut my sequence. And then I'll do Command-Shift-D again, and I'll cut the sequence, right? So now I essentially have a snippet here that I can export to bring into Firefly. So I'm going to set some in and out markers. So I will hit B for an in marker, and then I'll go to the end of this layer and then do N. And now that's my working area. Okay. So this is just the area that I want to export now. So I can do Control M. I'm going to take that into Adobe Media Encoder. And then we just got to mess with some presets here. So we will do a PNG sequence, right? Match source because it's 1920 by 1080. Yep. Where do we want to export this? Let's just go to our desktops folder. Let's see. We'll just create a new folder, try and stay organized. We'll do Palace sequence exported. Okay. And then we'll hit save, and then we'll go ahead and export that. So we will export that. Adobe Media Encoder is doing its thing. And then when I go to my desktop, there is our sequence. So it just took those still frames. Time lapses are just still frames. It took all those and it just exported that snippet that I wanted. Okay, so we have about 29, almost 30 frames. Now, this is where the magic happens. We will go into Adobe Firefly. Okay, we got about 5 minutes here, so we're really gonna try and go fast here, folks. Okay, so we're gonna create with Firefly. And what I want to do is, let's see, I want to work with images. So we'll do text to image. Okay, describe what I want to generate. There's different Firefly models. I like the Firefly model too for this one. It just seems a little more abstract. But the main thing that you want to do here is you got to do this for each frame. So if you have 30 frames, keep in mind you're going to do this 30 times. But it's, you know, again, the ending is pretty cool. So we want to go to the composition reference, which is right here. We'll upload an image. All right, we'll go to desktop. And then let's see. This is our first frame. So I'm going to hit upload. And it's asking, is this my image? You're darn right it is. Okay, and then we're going to drive the strength all the way up. All right, and then we're going to apply different effects. So let's say the painting one, and then we got to give it a prompt. So I'll say something like replication of the, let's see, composition reference with, I don't know, let's say vibrant colors. Vibrant colors are always very cool. Okay, and then we'll hit generate. So what Firefly is going to do is it's going to look at this image and actually stay pretty close to how it is, and then apply a cool effect based on the effects that we're giving it. This one's a painting, right? So we'll see what it generates here. Look at this. This is really cool. Oh, I forgot to do something. I actually want to change the the aspect ratio. We want to match what we did, which is 16:9. So look at this. It made this very cool painting with vibrant colors specific to this frame, right? So what I would do is I would download this. Okay, so that's my frame 1. And then for the next image, I'll add the next image in line because the camera changes ever so slightly. We're going around this. Okay, so this time I have a new reference image, and then you can either stick to the same one or you can show a different style. So let's see, what's a cool one? We can do comic book. Comic book might be cool. So I'm going to get rid of painting. So we only do this effect, but I'll keep the same prompt, right? So then I'll hit generate. How many frames per second do you use? Yeah, that's a great question, Stan. I usually do, if you do 24 frames per second, the video is longer, but what you just saw was 30 FPS because I think that's the default of what After Effects does. But if I'm trying to get like just do it a little bit more, I might change it to 24 FPS. So now we have a new version of it. This one's funny. I don't know what's going on here. But I don't know if I'll keep that one, but let's try another one. Let's do acrylic paint. Okay. And then for this instance, I would bring in the third frame, right? So for each frame, I would do a different style. And then what you end up doing is you end up bringing this all back into After Effects as a sequence because now you have 30 new images in 30 different styles, and then you put it over it. So check that out. So that's pretty cool, pretty psychedelic, right? So anyways, what you end up doing is we're going to skip ahead here just because, time. Here's my AI sequence. So now I have 30 images, and look at the bottom. You see, it's kind of following and going around, but we have all these different creations that we made using Firefly, and some of these I think are just amazing on their own. This is so cool. But we just go around. So what we end up doing is we can go to After Effects, right? And then we'll have something like this, and then I'll show you what I did here. So here is the time lapse without anything to it. But what I ended up doing is I took that snippet out. It's the same thing that I showed you, but then I took those 30 frames that I generated. So I did it, I actually went for a while here, 60 frames, so double that. And each image that I took, I made a new reference, and then we put it over this. And again, if you just kind of bring it into that same working area that you did, so if I just take this working area and replace it with those new 30 frames, then we get this effect. So we'll do this. Check it out. Oh, that's so cool. And it just matches the composition reference so well. So that's the beautiful thing about going to Firefly. And then it's the slider right here. So when you add your composition reference, you just bring that strength all the way up, and you're just going to match this frame very, very close to the actual things in the image. So like this, here, let me go back. So it takes into account all of this composition. So the image that makes this composition is us going around and seeing the foreground change. And when you add that slider all the way to the right, it stays true to that so that it matches your actual video. That's the very cool thing about that. So we'll see it again. Kind of, here, I can make it bigger. All right. Yeah. So again, look at the bottom. It's just, that's all the style reference. And it was able to do that because of that composition reference and the style reference. So something very, very cool to play around with. And there's tons of things you can do, right? I have, 60 different styles, but if you stayed with the same style, then it would be the same style. And you just think about all the amazing, cool things you can do with Adobe Firefly and Generative AI. I like to use it as my creative companion. I don't want it just to create things from scratch and not do anything with it, but I like it to enhance my work that it's already doing. And this is what it's doing. So very cool stuff. This could be an Instagram reel. This could be an ideation that you're pitching to a client. So tons and tons of cool stuff to do. So that brought us down to the wire. Look at that, folks. We did it. We did it. So again, I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, this is Photo Talk. Feel free to submit your photos. Please be a part of the conversation. That's what makes this fun. I'm sure you can watch me edit photos all day, but that's no fun for me. I want to see what you all are doing. So go ahead and submit in those links in the description, or just remix one of my photos, or remix one of the other photos that we showed today. So don't go anywhere. We have the illustrative DCC challenge with Jack Watson. So she is coming up next. So thank you everybody for joining us. We will be live in Photo Talk in about 2 weeks. Don't quote me on that. I got to make sure it's going to work out, but I'd love to keep this going. This is very fun stuff. All right. So have a great day, everybody. And we'll see you on the next Photo Talk. See you later.